All right, good morning, good morning. Good to see everyone. My name is Will Maddox, and I'm a senior editor with DCEO Magazine here in town. I've done a few of these From Day One concerts. Exactly. Conferences over the years, and here in this concert venue. So really excited. It will be very clear to all of you that I have never been given any sort of management experience or management opportunities over other human beings. So I feel like I learn a ton from these folks because it's not something I experience. And as a journalist, it's great to hear how companies work and what they're thinking about, especially as a business journalist. So looking very excited. And I have a goal for us. I haven't shared this with my panelists yet, but I have a goal for us tonight. There's a band playing here at this venue this evening that the band's called Cannibal, Corpse, and Carcass. And I want us to be more entertaining than Cannibal, Corpse, and Carcass tonight. I believe we can do it. When you see culture that's real, that might not be, you might not think you're going to be able to beat Cannibal, Corpse, and Carcass, but I think we can. I think these panelists are going to bring it. So let's just give them one more hand. Give them a hand because they're great. Thank you. Okay. We're going to get into the panel here. I'm going to let each of them introduce themselves, and I had another little about what you do, what your company does. I have another little question for you all. If you have an example of a failed attempt to create good culture in your past, you don't have to name names or companies. I'll just start real quick with mine. I used to be a school teacher, and there was a thing they would do for the staff where the superintendent would at the beginning of the year, he would dance. He would do like a choreography, which I think was well-intentioned, creating this culture of, hey, I'm fun. Look at us. We're doing a dance. And this is my personal opinion, which I maybe am cynical and jaded or whatever, but came off a little bit as like superintendent, look at me, here we go. I'm the star of the show, which looked a little thirsty and desperate for me, but not everyone might agree with me, but that's my example. We'll start here with Jim.
Hi, I'm Jim D'Amico. I'm the Vice President of Talent Acquisition at Caliber Collision. We are the largest multi-shop operator collision business in the U.S. We have 1,852 locations in 41 states and about 30,000 employees. And my failure, I'm not going to throw a company under the bus because I'll own it, was me. I'd come into a new organization, and I believe a lot of culture is about freedom and accountability for my team, that my job is to empower them and give them the freedom to make mistakes. And it was a big struggle. And I was a new leader, and what I had failed to do was take into account sort of the historic culture of the company and what it was going to actually take to move that. It was, in my mind, it was me saying, hey, you're free to make mistakes. You're free to make decisions. You're empowered. And like my friend Ron Popeil, I thought I could set it and forget it. And that wasn't necessary. And I learned a valuable lesson that when you're turning the ship of culture, it's a lot of work, and it's not an immediate quick turn one way or the other. It takes a lot of effort to right the ship.
All right, great. Priska, go to you.
Good morning, everyone. So Priska Analom, I am the HR leader for a division within a company called Integris, which most of you may not have heard about. We're a smaller company. We're an advanced materials company that we supply manufactured products to the semiconductor industry. And just thinking about the question you asked, I think it's a really good question. I think I reflected on my experiences earlier in my career where I was supporting acquisitions, and just the difference between acquisition or acquiring a company versus integrating a company. And one of the things that we quickly learned is that you just can't go and look at, what we typically look at as HR, as the business, is systems. We look at structures, we look at synergies, but we put culture on the back burner. And so we quickly had to flip that to put culture at the forefront, where we started doing cultural assessments just to understand the differences in how we work and how the companies that were acquired worked, and how do we bridge that gap and have people and managers start understanding, what's important and collaborating differently. So that was the difference in in terms of going in and, approaching it one way versus looking at the culture first and then having that as a clear path that you can take with the two companies. So it was a really good learning for me.
All right, great. Rebecca, we'll go to next.
My name is Rebecca Degner. I work for Genpact. We're a transformational service company, so we do a lot of outsourcing and insourcing. What I would say on cultural differences, I think over the years we've learned lessons. I don't think there's any failure that I could say that we've had. But again, acquisitions is a perfect example. When you go in and you are in transformational services, we do acquire organizations. And a lot of them have a different culture. And integrating that into your organization can be a challenge. And understanding that each level in our organization has a different culture. So your executives are going to be treated very differently than your entry level. Their expectations and how we put their environment and their culture can be very different. So I think I wouldn't say that there's ever been a failure. There's always just learning lessons.
All right, great. Cyntosha?
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Cyntosha Drury. I'm the VP of HR for our pumps division at Flowserve. Flowserve is a global company that manufactures pumps, valves, and seals, primarily for power, oil and gas, chemical industries. I'm the HR partner for the division to help align our people strategy to business outcomes. And it's funny now because, we were thinking about our failures, and I'm now the third example sharing the failure that stands out to me was through an acquisition as well. So for me, it was at a former company, and we were a company of 52,000 employees, acquiring a very small, tiny startup of 100 employees. And we thought from our perspective, how exciting for them to be joining our wonderful big company. And they saw it very differently. And we saw it through, turnover, disengagement, and it lasted for years, after that. And so the lesson learned is, for sure, think about culture through the due diligence process. That's the first step. And secondly, to not underestimate how much work needs to go into that. So, good lesson to be learned.
All right. Thanks. We'll finish with Hari.
Yes, so my name is Hari Date. I'm a senior solutions consultant at WorkHuman. We are a global strategic recognition software provider. When I'm not at WorkHuman, I'm also a professor at two universities. I teach at San Diego State University and also at California Lutheran University in the HR and business management space. I guess in my own personal journey, I have not had, I would say, knock on wood, failures around kind of driving culture. And I look at culture through the lens of recognition. The two companies that we had that as a mission to drive and change are now WorkHuman customers and have been for a little over a decade. So success there. Where I do have unfortunately seen failures is when we're talking to prospects, folks that want to bring culture and recognition into their organizations. And unfortunately, there are organizations out there that race to the bottom line, right? How much are we going to spend on our program versus how much are we going to invest in our employees? And so for me, those are failures, right? Those are stories where they go with a cheaper solution that doesn't drive ROI. You talked about mergers and acquisitions, right? Retention, all those things. Those are failures, and I feel bad, and we say, sorry, but we'll see you again in 3 years. When your contract's up, you'll come back. We're happy to engage with you, and we'll be here. So it is a journey, and everyone's not always ready for it, but we're there to pick them up and help them go forward.
All right, appreciate it. Look at all that wisdom you got. That was just the intro question, guys. So buckle up. We're gonna get into our real questions now. We're gonna start with Jim. You have experience beyond caliber collision in the manufacturing industry, tourism. These industries just have a wide range of education levels, backgrounds. You got PhDs, MBAs, probably working with high school graduates or even less. Talk to us about how you help create authentic, positive culture just among such a diverse background of employees.
Great question. And, a lot of my education began with my time in the Army. And the Army also has a tremendously diverse workforce when you think about it. But what aligns everybody in the Army is the same thing that we use to align our culture at our companies, which is one, understanding what's our true north, what is our mission and our vision, and is it something that resonates with everybody? Is it something that our CEO said on a whim, or is it actually something we can all really get on board with, align with, and feel? So I think that it starts at that highest level of what is the mission, what is the vision, empowering your leaders to truly understand what that true north is. And then it's very simply asking your people to, as you're assessing them through the process of bringing them on board and rolling out the culture, do you believe with it? And once we get everyone to believe with it, it's simply saying, great, follow me. And as long as we're all tracking to that same destination, we are following a singular culture, a singular set of values. And when we do that, we're all going to success. And we know if anyone deviates off that path, if they wander away from true north, that's where our cultural issues come from.
Yeah, it's a good point. And I think about it as a journalist that, I'm trying to take maybe sometimes complex topics and communicate those to a wide range of readers, and thinking about what is my communication, what does my language look like to try and communicate those goals. And, I'm sure that, the Army does the same and the companies all do the same. It's super, super important. Cyntosha, we're going to go to you next, right? It's most managers' goals to increase performance, to improve things, whatever metrics that you're working on. But a lot of times a commitment to that performance increase can result in just sort of a loss of me as an employee feeling like I'm authentic or buying into what that culture looks like, because you can be cracking the whip too much, maybe. So I'm curious, can you talk to us a little about how you balance a push toward a culture of high performance without dampening, what makes teams unique, what makes employees feel like they're a part of things and they can be their authentic selves?
Yeah, so it's a great point and question. There's a fine line. I challenge that you lose authenticity, right, and transferring from maybe to a high performance culture. I think that transparency can go a very long way and help you remain authentic, right, when you're trying to shift the culture. So for, often explaining the why, right, and explaining why do we have to shift our culture? What got us here today is not going to necessarily keep us going where we are. And if we have those conversations with our employees and bring them along the journey, I think you start to get their buy-in from the beginning, and that goes a long way. The second key thing when you're trying to shift your culture to more high performance is it's not necessary that you have to abandon your existing culture, right? And so a technique, I think, is building upon your strengths that you already have, and then just enhancing or modifying, right? There's a really good author, Patrick Lencioni, who talks about core values and aspirational values. And core values are innate. They're like in the DNA of the company. And you can probably think about for you, what is that? Like at Flowserve, safety, absolutely in our core. Integrity, absolutely in our core. But then we have aspirational values. Those are the things that we're still trying to get to. And again, building upon the strengths, building upon the core. So again, at Flowserve, one thing we're working on, continue to evolve, is that high performance culture. And in our DNA at Flowserve, we are a nice culture, right? If you ask any employee, why do you work at Flowserve? We love the culture. The people are so nice. They're so helpful. And that's a strength. It's an absolute strength. And we don't want to lose that. But we need to build upon that niceness, because sometimes that prevents us from maybe offering constructive criticism, right? Because that doesn't feel nice. But we know how important constructive feedback is to getting better and performing better. So what we're doing and how we kind of frame it is, hey, we need to offer more constructive feedback. We still remain respectful, right? We still can be nice about it. But that constructive feedback is nice too, right? You're helping people to get better. You're helping our team to get stronger. So that's a way that we're just leveraging what's in our core values to still kind of shift and evolve to a more high-performing culture.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think people deep down, they want that. They want that constructive criticism. They want to get better. They want to, and I think sharing with them this isn't about, not because I think you're a bad person. This isn't personal, right? Just that transparent sort of explanation of why this is happening, why I'm pushing you to do better, or whatever that looks like, can go a long way. Rebecca, the next question is for you. You and I talked a little bit about, just backstage right now, about sort of a large shift in culture resulting from leadership change sort of at the top at your own company. Talk to us a little about the experience you've experienced personally at your company, and what other HR leaders should consider when experiencing that sort of big culture shift.
Yeah. So just a little background. Genpact has a new CEO after 12 years. So in 2023, April of 2023, our new CEO, BK Carla, came in. And so BK has been with the organization since 1999, so since inception. So he knows the organization, he knows the vision. But he does have a different vision for the organization. And so we have worked really hard to kind of put his vision in place, which has changed the culture of the organization. So I would say we're still in the process of a change. I think it's a long, culture is a lifelong change. I think as we continue to evolve as humans, as digital technology comes in, as people come in, it's instrumental in our DNA that we have to continue to change. What I would say is super, super important is understanding the vision from an HR perspective, understanding what your company's vision and goals are, and being able to articulate those to your leaders, to your employees, to your staff, to make sure that they are all aligned to the same vision. Not everybody is going to be aligned to every single thing that changes in an organization, but we just have to make sure that they're on board. They're there to support us. The next thing is over communication. We absolutely have to communicate multiple times, multiple things, multiple ways. And we live in a digital technology world where each generation has a different way of learning things. They want to have information provided to them very differently. Some of us like email, some of us want a Teams chat, some of us want to get a text message, some of us don't want to work after hours, some of us want it on a bulletin board. And so finding that path is really important. The biggest thing I would say in a change like this is to listen to employees. Although we think we know best, I think as leaders, sometimes we think we know best for culture change. Listening to employees and having empathy, and they also bring the best ideas. Over my career, I can tell you, I will be sitting on a one-on-one and it'll just be like a light bulb that goes off like, oh my goodness, that's such a great idea. And we can take that to leadership. So listening to employees, communication, understanding the vision, and making sure you have empathy. Empathy change is hard. We all know everybody is nervous about AI and technology and jobs and where we go. So definitely have empathy as we're changing, and listen to your employees.
That's good. I have a quick follow-up question, because you mentioned sort of all the different modes of communicating whatever the message is. And I'm curious, kind of, when you approach that, is that sort of just throw everything out there and hope it covers the bases? Or how do you kind of make decisions about